And what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Designated Players, an MLS podcast. We were hinting at this episode in our second to last MLS news episode, I guess technically. So last Monday we were hinting at this, or Wednesday, one of the two, where we were hinting about Nico Ladero and his impact on MLS. And we said maybe we're gonna have to talk about if he is a top 10 number 10 in MLS history. And here we are today, finalizing that assertion. It is the long awaited return of our favorite series on the show, the Top 10 List. I'm here with Connor, and we are going to go through the top 10 number 10s in MLS history. For those of you who may not know what that means, it is the attacking midfield position. So you think of players who are big creators, very good on the ball, very technical. Lots of them come through MLS, and we're going to rank them with a few honorable mentions. Connor, how you doing?
Always got to have the honorable mentions.
Yeah, because there's just too many good ones not to make a separate little list there. But I see you've got an interesting scarf there. Why don't you show it off for the peoples?
Of course, it's always for the people. Um, in honor of the team that's probably had the best number 10s for like the last 5 years, little FCC shout. Maybe not this inaugural season, like the scarf says, but a run of Luciano Costa into Evander is phenomenal business by them.
Who was that? Leo Bertone? Are we dissing Leo Bertone here?
It might have been Alan Cruz back then.
No, was it Alan Cruz or who was the other one? They had another one they signed in, and he was a total flop.
Are you thinking
I
of
don't know.
Ken
We
Shammy?
could go. That could be its own episode, couldn't it? I'm gonna try and do this very quickly because I hate this, but I've broken out one that I
Okay.
don't show off very often.
Are we
It's
wearing a scarf
honest,
for the same player?
honestly, it's a very nice scarf, but there are so many that come from this team that I felt
No,
wrong
that's
to
true.
not do it, but now we're good. So. Uh, I can wipe my
Wow.
hands of that. I don't feel
Disrespect.
icky. I don't feel icky anymore. We're all done with that. Listen, it is people who have seen this before may know how this series works. If you don't, it's very simple. Connor and I are going to give our top 10 list for the number 10 position in MLS. Connor's going to say some dumb stuff. I'm going to yell at him. Then I'm going to give you the correct answer, and you're going to go on your merry way. But before we do that, we always have to talk about why we pick these players. Connor, your criteria. What have you analyzed? As you know, we're both nerds. So what are your numbers here?
All right, so for those who did not watch the top 10 strikers episode, I recommend that you do. Plenty of opportunities to yell at us. But my system is very similar with a change in the weightings here. So obviously striker, bit more heavy on the goals than the assists, right? But for the attacking mid, I think it's a good mixture of both. So goals and assists in this case are rated evenly for me. The most weight I put on it was for the per 90 numbers because I think last time I learned that put a little bit too much emphasis on the guys who kind of just been around for a long time, not necessarily the guys who were tearing it up the most. So change the numbers a little bit on the weightings. So hopefully this time it should put a little more emphasis on the guys that are putting up stronger numbers and a little bit less on the guys that have just been around for a long time. But yeah, taking into fact goals, assists, playoff goals and assists, any like foreign transfers from MLS, how much they went for. Again, their personal awards, team awards. So those kinds of things all getting factored into a little point system, and then you just sorting it largest to smallest, and that's kind of how the list went.
So basically, what he's saying is zero vibes because he doesn't watch soccer anyway.
No,
So
I don't do no, 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 no. Listen, I didn't watch soccer back in 1996, so sorry, I
you don't
can't.
watch soccer back in 2025, so it's okay.
So yeah, so
Uh,
exactly. Then might as well just go
yeah,
based off the numbers then.
Connor's just basically a human AI. He just goes, picks up the numbers, analyzes them, and spits out the answer. And you just say, okay. For me, I'm very similar, right? I've gone with a lot. My main emphasis, my main analysis is goals per game, assists per game, right? I think the per game number is very, very important to show impact. But I've also looked at number of playoff games, number of playoff goal contributions, and then sometimes I'll factor in how many of the ratio between those two, like goal contribution per playoff game. I say sometimes because there are some people who have like one goal contribution, two playoff games, and they're like boom, or like 3 and 4, and they're like right top of the list. So I'm like, you have to wait that out. But I also said they had to play at least five or be in their fifth MLS season this year. That was something that I put in there, and it put a couple of names in the honorable mention that are bigger names. And yeah, they had to have won something. I think that is a running theme for my lists, is that they need to have been on a team that won something. So that's just for me. And then I also looked, I know Connor mentioned this as well, but I also added in the criteria that we analyzed how many times they led the league in assists, because I think Connor weights them evenly, goals and assists. Me personally, I know that the role of the number 10 is creativity, whether they're through goals or assists, but mainly through assists, right? So I weighted that a little bit stronger.
Yeah,
Connor.
he's looking for any reason to get Sasha Kljestan into the list. That's what he's doing.
Oh man. Well, listen, we already know that the top 10 are going to be all Red Bull players. Amado Guevara's in there, Sasha Kljestan's in there, Danny Royer I'm counting. Thierry Henry played as a 10 once. Pretty sure Tim Cahill can count as a 10. I mean,
We
we
could
can go
throw
on and on.
Kaku in there.
Please. Let's do
Gonzalo
that. I mean,
Varone.
Emil Forsberg, I know I said 5 years, but he's been around long enough to basically be here 5 years. So let's just throw him on the list too, right? Um, why don't we talk honorable mentions?
Okay. You want me to run through all of them or we go one at a
Do
time?
them all. Do them all.
All right. Let's start. My last honorable mention is going to be probably first controversial one on the list already, but my first one here is Federico Higuain, a guy that is a very solid goal scorer and very solid playmaking. Again, as I mentioned before, I kind of weighted them evenly. I understand that a number 10 does probably a little bit more playmaking, but I feel like the role, that takes away from a few guys who I think have played the number 10 and have been like elite goal scorers for them. And I think those guys are just as valuable as the elite playmakers as well. So very solid for Higuain in that regard. I think a couple of the areas that hurt him a little bit more were, I mean, the awards. That's the biggest thing, right? Like he's won Newcomer of the Year and nothing else other than that. And Team Awards has won nothing. He was on that Columbus era where they were just okay, like not winning anything. So that hurt him a lot. That dropped him down. I think had he been more successful in personal and team awards, he might have snuck into the list there, but that kept him out for me. Other one I've got on here is Sasha Kljestan, one of the at his peak, one of the best playmakers in the entire league that we've seen. I think the things that hurt him a little bit, slightly lower on the goal scoring part of the game. He's his assist numbers are very solid. I think his time in Anderlecht probably took away this like prime stretch for him where he could have been putting up more numbers in the league. I took into account a little bit of his move, so he did get some points for it. I don't want him to like get penalized for it necessarily. And the team success hurt him a little bit because he only has one supporter shield here. Some of these other guys on the list have significantly longer team award history that got them a few more points. So those kinds of things would have jumped him into the list as well. And then the last one, here we go, starting off already with my controversial pick here. But I've gone for Valderrama as my last honorable mention, just outside the top 10 list here. I think playmaking wise, he's probably the greatest playmaker that the league has seen. I mean, incredibly talented. He was a top assister 2 times. The things that dropped him down for me, the goal scoring, like he was not a good goal scorer at all. I get it. That's not his game. It wasn't his game, right? But I'm factoring that in both accounts, goals and assists. So from a goal scoring perspective, he was very poor. From an assist perspective, he was elite, the best per 90 assister on my list. Playoffs hurt him a lot too. Just I don't think he was involved much in the playoffs, and he had 1 goal and 2 assists during his time in the playoffs. That hurt him a lot as well, and that translated again to team success. Only one supporter shield, very similar to Sasha in that regard. A bit more team success absolutely would have saw him into the list, and probably would have got him more playoff involvements as well. So those kinds of things just kept him out of my list.
Yeah, that is when we were doing this offline and we were saying that I had one guy that I had to put on there because I felt like there was, just based off of MLS
I
lore.
figured it was him.
I had him in my honorable mention and I was like, I can't, I won't live it down. I have to put him on there. So,
You don't
um,
have to. I mean,
I
listen,
don't, you're right. I don't have to, but I will spoil a little bit. Say he is on my list. I also have Federico Higuain in my honorable mentions, right? He was a great Columbus player, but he didn't help them win anything. You're out. Mauro Diaz is also on my list. Big for Dallas, but again, I don't ever think we remember talking about Mauro Diaz as like in that elite category. I think we were talking about him as being really, really good, but I don't really remember him being in the elite category for a while. Hani Mukhtar is on my list. Scores a lot, but not a lot of assists. I think I classify him more as a nine, right? And I know he wasn't on my top 10 nine, list either, but he's just one of those guys that falls in between. I don't know what to tell you. Argue with a wall.
you have to put him
Uh,
somewhere. You can't just say he doesn't
yes,
exist.
he he will he will be the number one, almost nine and almost 10. Actually, no, he'll probably be number
No,
two because Sebastian Giovinco takes that title. So he could be number
he
two
probably.
on that list.
Oh my God. There's so many guys that fall into that little purgatory for you.
All right, well, great. Now we're gonna have our next top 10 be those guys who didn't quite fit. I had Mauricio Cienfuegos on there. My numbers had him skewed, his average skewed because he just made the playoffs a lot. With that really good LA Galaxy side. But when I looked at the number, he was just kind of really average. So I bumped him to an honorable mention instead of a low top 10. And then, yes, of course, Sasha Kljestan here being really, really good. I think what hurt him for me was the fact that he went through the LA Galaxy and the Orlando era, and he was just kind of there. If he bounces out after 5 years at Red Bull, I think he's probably considered a top 10. But because of those other years that kind of made him forgettable, I guess, for lack of a better term.
All right, so I think a lot of names sounding pretty close together.
Yeah,
Obviously, depending
and
on where
as
you put Valderrama.
well, and that's it. As always, this is going to be very interesting to see. It's almost like there is a clear top 15, and it's who goes where in the top 15. So, you know what? I'm a nice guy. Take it away. Number 10. What do we got?
Number 10 for me, I've gone for Javi Mo. So Javi Mo, a decent what? Relax, my goodness.
Oh my word. You've ruined this already. How have you
How I
done
ruined
that?
this. All right,
Oh my word.
let's just let me finish at least, and then you can get into your telling
Word.
me about how you're gonna go off of your vibes. He was a very good assister. His assist per 90 numbers were pretty strong, like near the top. He had good contribution from the assist game in the playoffs as well. His pure like just number of assists is obviously very high. He is pretty close to being top of the list. His goal scoring is okay. So I think based on those numbers, you're probably skewing more for your list, considering you're putting more emphasis on the assists than you are the goals. From a goal scoring perspective, his per 90 was about average for the list. His pure numbers were again a pretty similar range. And awards really wasn't anything like to jump off the page. He had one MLS Best 11. He's a two-time All-Star, and he has one MLS Cup. So the awards weren't helping him either. He's a very good playmaker, and he, for the context of the list, was an okay goal scorer, and that got him to number 10 for me. I feel like you're going off of vibes based on like a short era where he was thriving. I mean, I'm sure you'll tell me more later.
I'm so mad at you.
Go ahead,
I'm
be mad. I
so,
don't
so
care.
mad. I'm so mad
Listen,
at
I
you.
can't. I'm sure he was doing more than just like what the box score can say, but I'm not. Listen, I am not going to sit here and look up the underlying numbers for 40 different players to make this list. I'm not putting that level of effort into it.
Everything's gonna
Why
be
don't you just tell
okay.
me your number 10?
Everything's gonna be okay. My number 10, and this is tough because I really didn't want to put kind of the new age, right? The newer people in there for fear of recency bias. But I think Ryan Gauld has worked his way into number 10 for me. And this was a tough one because I had him on my honorable mentions. I had him kind of just off the list completely, but he's been really, really good in front of goal. He's scoring a ton. He's got decent assist numbers, and he's helped Vancouver become the powerhouse team in Canada. He's got 3 Canadian championships. I know they're not the same as US Open Cups, but they are titles and they are things that they need to win, and he has helped them do that. Outside of that, he's missing the playoff success, right? I think you mentioned it a little bit. I'm mentioning it here. He's missed the playoffs, 25% of the years he's been here, not including this year, even though he's not really playing right now because he's hurt. But they've never gotten out of the first round, right? They've always lost in that round one. You combine that with the no individual awards and only Canadian championships. I think he's got a ways to go to climb the ranks, but I wouldn't be upset if you told me to drop him for somebody in our honorable mentions. I could hear that argument. I could hear Question being a 10, basically, is what I'm saying. I understand that he probably is I think he's going to be a top 10 number 10 for a time, depending on how many more players come in and who we develop and whatever. But right now, I don't think it's crazy to put him on there.
I'm not going to dig into too much because Gald was my first name outside of the honorable mentions. And he was an honorable mention until I looked at top assisters. But I think it is crazy to leave Hani off the list and put Ryan Gald on because he won a 3-team tournament a couple times. Which are you could make the argument that in the last few seasons, not even a 3-team tournament, considering how bad Montreal and Toronto have been.
What does Nashville come even close to winning? They got third in Leagues Cup, right? And what else
That's
outside
pretty
of this?
close. Third? That's
Outside
pretty
of
close.
this, all right. So they've won one tournament. They've come third in one tournament. They then go to Champions League. They lose. I think they lost the first round of the Champions League, right? Then you've got Ryan Gauld who comes in and does, yes, Canadian Championship, not as difficult, right? But Nashville, an average playoff team at best. Like they're the same level. Again, I could hear the idea that you could put Hani in here. Sure. I could hear that idea. I'm not saying it's absolutely crazy, but I don't think it's crazy to have one or the other. I don't think it's that blown out of proportion.
I mean, debatable, but I mean, I think if you throw during the time that Hani's been there, if you put Nashville in the Canadian Championship, there's without a shadow of a doubt that they win at least one of those. At least for me. I mean, Nashville and Vancouver, in terms of the league, have been like the same teams for the last few seasons. So it's not like Vancouver's been this top of the table team that's been like winning Canadian championships as well. They've been like an average league table team outside of this season, which also Nashville has been very good this season as well. So
Yeah, like I said, I think you could convince me is what I'm saying. I'm not dead set on Ryan Gaul being number 10. I'll leave it at that.
I think you purposely left. And listen, my thing is not about Ryan Gold. My thing is about Hani Mukhtar. I think you're insane for leaving him off the list just because you think he's a number nine.
I can't wait to hear how he's your number one, number 10 because he scores a lot of goals. Please tell me your number 9.
My number nine, someone you already mentioned, Mauricio Cienfuegos.
Okay.
I think mine is slightly more skewed because I just gave like sheer playoff numbers and not per game playoff numbers.
Hmm.
Um, I think it's fair to do it by per game, but I think you should also be rewarded if you're helping your team get into the playoffs consistently. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing that really boosted him into this list is the fact that he was a significant part of that really successful LA Galaxy first dynasty for them, where he racked up insane team awards with MLS Cup, 2-time Supporter Shield, CONCACAF Champions League, and was a big contributor in the playoffs as well. He is the highest amount of playoff assists out of everybody I had on my list. He has 10. So he had 5 goals as well. Like he was a good contributor to there while also being like a generally good playmaker in the regular season as well. I mean, he has pretty solid per 90 numbers and assists. He was not great in goal scoring, which I think dropped him down a little bit, but overall, I think being a part, he definitely benefited from being on a good team. I won't doubt that, but he was also a big part of that team being super successful. So I mean, we're pretty close, it sounds like, for Cienfuegos. So
Yeah, I'm not heartbroken over that. I think that's fair. Like I said, he was on that bubble where I was trying. Like if Gaul didn't get in, I think Cienfuegos was actually number 10 for me. So My number nine, I've got Carlos Valderrama here. And for much of the same reasons that you had. I think a lot of people look at these things like he had 26 assists and 19 assists like in a season. I mean, oh, he was only here for a little bit. A lot of those are secondary assists, right? So I use the transfer market numbers to analyze these stats. That season where he's got 19 assists is like the third most all time in a single season. Transfer market credits him for 11. It's like it's a big shift, right? And we also know what 1996 MLS looked like. A player of his caliber, yes, fantastic, but I'm not sure I could sit here and say he's a top 10 player anymore in this position. Outside of those numbers, he didn't score a lot. You mentioned that as well, and he didn't do a ton in the playoffs, which I think is a really big thing here, right? I don't necessarily care what you can do in the regular season because apparently people don't care about the Supporter Shield. It's all about MLS Cup. Ridiculous people, I know, but he's the first ever MVP. He's got the first Supporter Shield, and that's about it. I think being the first ever MVP and having such an impact in the distribution and the creativity of the game, I think gets him into the top 10 just based off of default. Like he has to be there. So, again, I'm not heartbroken you had him at honorable mention. I had him there as well, but I thought about it more and I'm like, listen, he just based off of the lore of this league and what he's done, and I think he has to be somewhere in the top 10. So I've got him. I've got him there.
I mean, I wasn't far. He was 11 for me. Like if his team was slightly
I
more
thought Ryan Gaul was
successful, he
11.
was here. Huh? No, Gall was outside of the honorable mention. He was first outside of honorable
Oh,
mentions.
first outside honorable. Okay, I misunderstood you there. Gotcha.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
had
what do you?
I had him 11. If his team was slightly more successful, he's top 10 for me. Like it's
Sure.
not far off.
Nope, no disagreements there. Why don't we just jump right into eight? I'm waiting. This is right about the time we usually get at least one on the same page here. It's 8, 7, 6 areas, so maybe we got one coming.
I don't think we're gonna get it on this one. The guy I've gone here is a bit more of a goal scorer than a playmaker, so I doubt he's on your list. But I have gone for Christian Gomez.
Oh, interesting.
Not a long time spent here. He is actually out of everybody in my top 10 and honorable mentions has the least amount of minutes. However, while he was here, was very productive for the teams that he played for. His per 90 goal numbers were fantastic. 0.41 was some of the highest across all the people that I looked at. He was a pretty decent playmaker. 0.28 per 90 assists, which had him a bit above average out of the people I looked at. So that got him some points. He had some decent awards. Again, he was here for a short amount of time, so the awards, like there's not as much time to rack up the awards. But while he was here, he had an MVP, three-time best 11, won an MLS Cup, two Supporter Shield as part of that second DC United dynasty. And I think some of the things that hurt him a little bit, his playoff numbers, not great. Zero assists in the playoffs. That's not helping at all, obviously. He had 4 goals. That helped a bit. That's about average. Um, and I think just the pure lack of time in the league compared to a lot of these other guys on the list hurt him a little bit as well. And even though he has an MVP, he never really had like this super explosive season, kind of the way you see guys now. He was just kind of very consistently productive for the teams that he was on. So that probably dropped him a little bit lower than some of the guys that are ahead of him.
Yeah, I'll tell you, he's not there for me. And it was one of those things where you need to very vividly remind me he won an MVP. Like I have it on my list, I have it here. But when we go through the list of MVPs and I look at this list and I'm like, oh yeah, Lucia Costa, right? Valderrama, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. I you couldn't pay me enough to remember that he won an MVP, right? He just
No,
didn't
I get
jump out
that.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't
Yeah.
jump out off the page for me. And yeah, like when you look at the analysis of the rest of the numbers, right? It's average. It's very average, which I think you mentioned, right? I'm looking at my numbers here. He's 18th in assists per game, 17th in goal contribution per playoff game. Like they're just okay, right? So that doesn't scream top 10 to me. What does scream top 10 to me at my number eight is Dwayne De Rosario, a legend of the game. Over 14 seasons, he performed at a high level for 5 different teams, over 342 appearances in the regular season alone. He's on record as winning goal of the year twice, I think, right? The free kick and one of the other ones that was really crazy. Um,
I think so.
yeah, over 100 goals and 56 assists in regular season play, consistently performing at a high level that would get him into big time games, right? He was in the playoffs all the time with all these different teams. Didn't matter who he was around, right? When he was in the playoffs, he performed, right? Fourth most goal contributions in playoff games based on anybody on that list. But his assist per game numbers hurt him the most. And again, that's based on the definition of what a 10 is today and what I see, that dropped him, right? Where he was a great goal scorer, don't get me wrong. But I as a number 10, I like to see creativity more than the goal scoring. And it's really what it is. It was just a different time, I think. The definition changed. So
All right, so what I've learned from this is we are clearly not going to have anything the same because we've clearly defined the impact of goal scoring from the number 10 as completely differently. So like we're
not
gonna be
necessarily. There are different levels.
I don't know. I think we're gonna be pretty far off. Because I will be reserving judgment on Dwayne De Rosario.
All right, hit me with a number seven then.
My number seven, probably a guy that he'll surely be on your list, I would imagine, but probably a little bit higher up. Another one that got hurt a little bit by the goal scoring numbers, but I've gone for Nico Lodeiro here at seven. Again, he's a very good playmaker, was a great playmaker for a successful Seattle team over a long period of time. His assist per 90 numbers were very strong. His playoff impacts were huge. He was constantly in the playoffs. He was constantly performing in the playoffs, which brought him some team success. You know, two MLS Cups, the last Champions League in the last, like, I don't know, 15, 20 years for this league. And he was obviously a big part of the Seattle team that was successful during this period of time. He was a newcomer of the year, one-time best 11, one-time All-Star, one-time top assister. Again, I think the things that knocked him down a bit were the goal scoring. You know, obviously, if you weight the goal scoring differently, he's going to be higher on the list. I rated it evenly. He was not known for his goal scoring. That was not his role. I understand that. But that knocked him down a little bit for me. It was just the fact that he just wasn't scoring much. His role was to play make, and while he was a good playmaker, there were better ones. So I had him at seven.
Yeah, we might be a touch off. And that's
Yeah, that's
okay.
what I'm saying. We're gonna be completely. I'd be shocked if we overlap on anybody.
Just a reminder, friends, tennis player knows ball, right? There are two different levels to this. One knows how to hit a ball with a racket. One has played this game for quite a while. So take with that information what you will.
Sounds like
Um,
you're biased. That's all it sounds like.
sounds like I know ball. My number seven, another current player. It's Carlos Heel. He's been in MLS for 7 years already. Isn't that insane? Like he got here like yesterday. He's easily one of the most talented players on the pitch every time he steps on there. But like his predecessors on the list, he's got an MVP and a supporter shield. There's not like the next step up for me. Another top 10 player in goals per game, assists per game. And what bumps him up for me over this is the run that he went on in 2021 with New England, where they set the points record. Like he was awesome. So he's a big time playoff guy too. 6 goals, 6 goal contributions in 8 playoff matches. He knows how to show up when he needs to perform. So even if the team around him is not, he's out there balling. So I got him at 7. I think it's not a bad spot to have him.
I didn't even have him on my list. I mean, he was close to making honorable mentions, but he was not on my list. I
I
mean,
almost, I sorry, I just want to say I almost went with a thing where I'm like, if you are in the league currently, you had to have been here for like 7 or 8 years because it felt weird putting people on there who are like, oh yeah, they joined up in 2021 and now we're into year 5, and it's like, oh well, how do we judge this? Because there's been so much turnover and you need a year to adapt and all this stuff. But I understand.
I was kind of surprised at Heel's numbers. I really thought they would be stronger, but like like he had a monster 2019. And then listen, we talk about it all the time. I think both of us, I don't know if you've changed your tune on it, but I think we both agreed that his MVP was should have gone to Hani Mukhtar. I know he had a
Is
monster
it is this the
2020.
Hani Mukhtar defense show? That's all you're
I
doing.
guess. I didn't that just happened to be there. That wasn't necessarily for Hani. It was more so just trying to say that I think we had talked about his MVP and you know, obviously he won it. Like I still counted it in my list as well. I'm not saying, you know, there's no like revisionist history on it. It's his. I think we both had talked about previously that we didn't think it should have been his, but yeah, I mean his number, like his per 90 assist numbers were like lower than I thought they would be. Like they were good, but it felt like he was in that conversation of like he'd be the top per 90 assist player like of all time. Like he'd be like right there. And it was like a little bit lower than I thought it was going to be. And like maybe that's just because like the last season and a half, or like you know two of the last three full seasons, New England's been kind of bad. So maybe that has some impact on it. Maybe it's just recency bias, but I don't know. I thought he was going to be higher on my list and he wasn't.
Well, that's why you can't just go off of pure numbers. Sometimes you have to know the game.
All right. Well, speaking of the defense force over here, my number six is the guy I've been defending all episode, Hani Mukhtar at number six. Again, this is heavily swayed on your definition of how much you think they should be involved in the goal scoring. I personally think that uh I mean the way that number 10s have been like involved, I feel like recently it's like a heavy emphasis on both the scoring and the assisting. You know, guys like Ryan Gauld who are like the type of guys that put up 11 or 12 goals and assists every year. So I think it's fair to weight them evenly. From in my opinion, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of purists that listen to this episode that agree with you. Hani's obviously an elite goal scorer. He's one of the best on this list. I think he was second only to Evander on my list in per 90s. Speaking of which, if Evander sticks around for a few more seasons, he's getting on this list, in my opinion.
Mhm.
But yeah, Hani is elite goal scorer. He was very good in assist per 90 as well. Um, he had 0.29, which was upper echelon of assists per 90 for a lot of these guys. Where he gets killed in the rankings for me, you talked about it already. It's all with the team success. The team doesn't really make the playoffs. He hasn't done a ton in the playoffs. 4 goals, no assists, has zero team awards so far. I don't want to put all of that on him. He is not the GM that's surrounding the team with players and how the team has constantly missed on bringing in a supportive striker for him. And now they finally have one. And guess what? Now they're successful this season. So, maybe he'll finally win something with them. But his personal awards are incredible. I mean, he's an MVP, 3-time best 11, 3-time All-Star. He's won a Golden Boot. If he had more team success, he'd be much higher on my list.
You can defend Hani Mukhtar all you want, but I will not sit here and listen to you slander Alex Mouille. Oh, they have nobody around him. Alex Mouille plays 34 times a season. What do you mean nobody around him? They got the best playmaker outside of Hani Mukhtar. I will not sit here and have that.
Alex
Um,
Muyl and Jacob Schaffelberg.
yeah. Oh no, no. What's Hani gonna do? He's only got the two greatest wide players in MLS history. What? As we've said in the striker list, and as we will say here, and as I think we already have said here, it just goes based off a definition, right? If you wanted to sit here and just say purely he's a 10 or purely he's a 9, he just falls somewhere in the middle for me, and I can't find. And this, by the way, this goes all the way back to IB Math SL when I did that project, and I was like, I had to put people in categories to do that whole project. That's where this comes from because I'm like, oh, well, if you don't fit in either one, you're out because I got to make this fit because it's for a project. And now that's how my brain works. So sorry, not sorry. It's just the way it's going to go. So I'm not saying he's not a top 10 one or the other. It just he doesn't fit. I don't know. We should do a top 10 second striker list. That's where we're gonna find the most success. I don't know.
You just got to put him somewhere and just be done with it. That's it. That's what you got to do.
Oh man, my number six. I think you probably have him a bit higher, but my number six is Luciano Acosta because, and this is where I struggle with the addition of current players because while he is phenomenal in DC, and while he is obviously one of the best players in FCC's history, my worry is that after his time in MLS is up, he is going to follow down Sasha Kleshton's path. In that he's going to go to Dallas, and Dallas isn't going to surround him with players to be successful. Right? He's got 6 goal contributions in 20 games this year. Right? My worry is that he will tend to go down that path. Now, if I were to say just cut him off at last season, right, take his DC time, his FCC time, and see where he's at, I think he's higher on the list. But I struggle to do that with the future not being brought in here. So to that, I'll say he's top 10 in goals per game right now. He's top 10 in assists per game. and he's top 10 in playoff goal contribution per game. So take all of that aside and his impact on what he did with FCC from perennial bottom feeder to MLS Cup contender, nothing short of immense, right? But low on the awards list, right? He's got the MVP and the Supporters Shield. Nothing yet outside of that in the MLS Cup run, in the US Open Cup run, and I don't see him getting any more of that with FC Dallas anytime soon. I keep him outside the top five for now. Again, things can change, but right now I've got him outside the top five.
That's crazy.
No,
That
it's
is
not.
crazy.
It's not.
It is
It's not.
crazy.
So
But
here's the thing.
I'm not going to talk about it right now.
I'm saving myself from clip farming down 3, 4 years from now, and people are like, "Oh, look at this guy who put him Luciano Acosta at number 2, and he hasn't done anything ever like in the last 4 years. What a nerd."
Listen, the time will come around where he gets his respect again, if
And
that
guess
does
what?
happen.
Guess what? We can do this again in 5 years, and I'll move him, and I've got no problem with it. But the right now, I can't put him. I can't put somebody who's in the league and has been in the league for what, 8 total seasons? Yeah, 8 total seasons.
Nine, if you include this year, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I've just struggled to be like, okay, well, what happens in years 9 and 10, right? Especially with a team like Dallas, where you never know if they're going to be good or not, right? What happens? So I struggle to cement him there. Now, if he goes into Dallas, plays the next 2 years, and they win, a U.S. Open Cup next year, they go super far in Leagues Cup this year, right? Because we're recording this before Leagues Cup. So if they go and get to the final of Leagues Cup and make some run and get into the playoffs, go deep in the playoffs, I'll put my hand up at the end of the year and say, yeah, maybe I was wrong here. But right now, not having it.
I'll talk more about it later. I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, word. Why don't you go ahead and give me a number 5, and let's break into the top 5.
All right. I suspect this guy is maybe a little bit higher in your top five here. A guy we've talked about a lot in MLS history so far. I've got Marco Echeverri here at number five.
Oh, don't do this.
I am going to do this.
Don't do this.
Why? Because
Stop
he's your number one.
stop setting yourself up for embarrassment. Because you understand I
Fine.
control the clips. You understand that I
That's
control
fine.
what goes
Control the
out.
clips.
You
That's fine.
understand that
Control the
I make
clips.
you look good or bad.
Listen, just this every single player that's coming up on our list comes down to the like I said, it literally just comes down to the way we define goals for the number 10 spot. It does with every single one of these players because yes, he is I think maybe number 2 or number 3 on my list in terms of per 90 for assists. He is elite playmaker in this league. Maybe the best. I'm sure for plenty of DC fans, he is the best. The most elite playmaker has come across Major League Soccer. From a goals perspective,
But
he
he
really
can't score the goals. He keeps giving them to everybody else to score. Oh no, get him off. I don't want him. This is like you're playing football manager. That's what I'm hearing right now. You're playing football manager like, well, he's got some pretty good numbers, but his composure is actually a 9 and not an 11. So I can't take him. Go get the next person. That's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like.
Listen, I can make the exact same argument in the opposite direction that you just made. Maybe
No,
he's
you
too
can't.
afraid to take the goals and he gives it off to other people. Maybe that's what the case is.
And what, they score? Oh no, the team definitely is upset that he didn't score it and somebody else did. I promise you. Oh, and the fans,
If the
the
ball's
fans
in the
are
back of the net,
livid, by the way.
if the
The
ball is
fans
in
are
the back of the
livid that
net,
he's the one setting
who
it up.
cares if it was him who scored or if it was somebody else who scored? You think the fans care? No, they just care that the ball is
Correct. That's what
and that
I'm
they're
trying
winning.
to say.
That's what I'm saying. So why would it knock him if he's okay, so he's assist, but why can't you assist and score? Like that's why I give the credit to the guys who could do both. Because there are guys that do both.
Did you take into account penalties?
What do you mean take into account? Like, yeah, I'm including penalties.
Did you factor them out and see how much they really scored from open play?
No.
No, exactly. List
Why does that
invalid.
matter?
Move
A
on.
penalty is a
Move
goal. A
on.
goal is a goal.
Your
If
list is
Red Bull score a
invalid.
penalty against Atlanta, do you care? Or are you like, oh, that's a fake goal?
Move on. Your number 5, please.
He
Oh
is
wait,
my
we're
number
already on your
five.
number 5. Yeah, all
Yes, he
right.
is my number
All right.
five. He has a ton of awards. Like he is probably one of, if not the most decorated player on this list. Ton of personal awards, MVPs, best 11s, top assisters, 3 MLS Cups, 2 Supporter Shields, CONCACAF Champions League. I think it's legitimately just the goals that knocked him down in my list. He had 3 seasons where he was extremely strong in the assist category, probably some of the best assisting seasons in Major League Soccer history. But yeah, I think to me, I think I give credit to the guys that could do both for the number 10, the ones that could score and the ones that can assist.
I can't wait till we get to like the top 10 center backs in the league. You're like, well, Walker Zimmerman scores 40 headers in his career, but Eddie Pope, he doesn't really do that much, so I can't put him in there. I'm sorry. I can't wait. I can't wait. Max Morales is my number five. This tiny little New York City man
Sell out.
cracks the top five.
Sell out. You put a
Huh?
rival there.
Hey, listen, listen,
You can't
listen,
do that.
listen. I don't love putting current players here, but and especially don't love putting rival current players in the top five. But he's like 470 years old, so I figured he's basically retired. We can include him, and it's okay. But he's been good, right? He's been a good New York City player, and what's impressed me about him is he's done it with such a variety of players around him, right? He goes from Tati Castellanos to Alonso Martinez being converted from a winger to a striker at the nine, right? And a host of other players involved there as well. He gets Santi Rodriguez on one side, Hannes Wolf on the other. He's got all these different players that he needs to work with, and he always finds a way to make it happen. And he does it in the big moments as well. So, fourth most assists per game with the fourth most goal contribution per game in the playoffs. He's got 10 goal contributions in 18 games, which is really frustrating because if I had anybody on Red Bull who had 10 goal contributions in 18 playoff games, life would be pretty good. But I hate putting him there, but I think he deserves it, and I think that he will go down as one of the better number 10s in league history.
Man, I'm waiting for Emmanuel Reynoso to be number one on your list because you just love a playmaker that all they do is just play make.
I can't. I don't think you understand how much I want to hit you. Your
That's what
lack of
makes the
ball
best
knowledge.
episodes.
Your lack of ball knowledge is making me angry. Please move on to your number four so we can get over this.
Well, you're not gonna like my number four either. And to be honest, as I'm looking at my number four now, I want to rearrange it. Like I don't like that he's at number four. I think he's benefiting too much from just being around for a long time. But at number four, I have Kobe Jones here. A guy that I think benefits more from the goal scoring than the assisting, but he was solid kind of across the board on that. He was a pretty good per 90 goal scorer, pretty good per 90 assister. Um, did a lot in the playoffs. Again, was part of that LA Galaxy team that was a dynasty around the early 2000s and start of Major League Soccer as well. So he was constantly on successful teams, being a contributor on successful teams. The personal awards are a little bit lower. One time Best 11, 5-time All-Star, and the team awards are absolutely flooding the page. 2-time MLS Cup, 2-time Supporter Shield, 1-time CONCACAF Champions League, and was also like a stalwart in the U.S. men's national team. Like he had 160 appearances for the men's national team. Like, he's not getting called in because he's a bad player constantly. Like he's getting called in because he's doing well. I would be willing to kind of rearrange the list and look at it a little bit more because I think I would probably find a way to put Echeverry ahead of him, but that's where I had the numbers at. So that's where I have Kobe at 4.
As we spoke about off air, I thought we had to keep Kobe Jones off of this list. I don't think attacking mid was actually his main role. I think he was a wide player, but the difficulty with utilizing transfer market, especially with players who are not relatively recent, is that their data doesn't really highlight where they played. And it's also a time where the formations were a bit different. When I look at transfer market, he's only, of the 300, 400 games he's played, whatever, they only have it's 30, that's 29, 30. They've got 34 of his games listed as a position. So a 10% clip. But 16 of those 34 are left wing and 13 of those 34 are right wing. He's only listed as an attacking midfielder once. And
I swear they
whenever
had
I
him
watch
listed there as an attacking mid.
well, and I agree. Like I said, and this is why I tried to tell you before we recorded, like I'm not going to include him because every time I remember watching him play, he always was wider. Now, again, that's not a lot of time watching him play, by the way. That's just the clips we've used for MLS history, but every time I remember him being a wider player.
All right,
So
how about this then? Carlos Valderrama is now my number 10. And Marco Echeverri is now my number four.
Shift everybody up one.
Yep, that's exactly what I did. Everybody just shifted up one. So Kobe Jones didn't exist. Number four, I've got Marco Echeverri. And then just insert the clip of and talking about Marco Echeverri.
Great. Now you just put more work on my plate. Maybe I just leave it all in and say, everybody go back and listen to it.
You can go
Um,
ahead, leave it in if you want to.
and I probably will because it's a bit because I know you're not going to edit that, so I'm not going to edit that.
That's fine. We can just leave it in there. For the viewers that are
Um,
listening, I've just shifted. I took Kobe Jones out. We'll agree on him being a winger. I think that's a very fair point that you mentioned. So I've got Marco Echeverri at four then.
yeah, and everybody shifts up one, and we'll
Yes.
recount, we'll recap everything at the end as well because
Okay.
clips and all that. But what I will say is that if he really was an attacking midfielder, and again, I'm not claiming to know, but I feel like he was a wide player. But if he did, yeah, those numbers absolutely put him in a top five spot, no doubt, no doubt. Um, but it felt like that wasn't his real role. So my number four, and we hinted at this on the last MLS news episode. Nico Ladero is a top five MLS number 10 of all time. I said that last week, and I will stick by it because I am not a fraud like Connor.
He's number
Um,
six. He's number six on my list. He's right there.
he is now, but he was seven before. I remember. Um, Listen, outside of, and we got some heat for this. Me making a comment basically saying that Nico Ladero turned around the Seattle Sounders dynasty, or the Seattle Sounders like demise, right? And you corrected me on it. So I don't know if these people listened all the way through the episode where we explained what I meant by that, but people were like, "How are you going to say Nico Ladero turned around a team that won MLS whatever Supporter Shield in 2015?" And I had to re-explain to them that that team that won MLS Cup in 2015 was 2 points off the wooden spoon at the midway point before Nico Ladero came in, or 3 points off the wooden spoon, something like where one or two bad games, and they are going from supporter shield to wooden spoon, much like their Western Conference compatriots, the LA Galaxy this year. Or they didn't win supporter shield, but you know what I mean. What I credit is the fact that not only did he turn around that awful run, but he took them from basically finishing, getting ready to finish dead last, to winning MLS Cup, and then going on a run that lasted 5 years and ended with a Champions League, something that hadn't been done in 20 years in MLS. Combine that with the second most playoff appearances, creating that dynasty we were just talking about, and the most playoff goal contributions, impact in that dynasty that we're talking about. He's a top five MLS number 10 of all time. Right. And I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, Seattle was terrible without him. No, they were the second best, playoff streak team behind Red Bull. And then they crashed out after 2021 because they focused on other things, and fine. I'm not saying Seattle was poor. I'm saying Seattle was on their way to being a, 2011 to 2015, and I'm going to use this in quotes, flash in the pan, to then going back down to, in the natural cycle of what MLS teams do. They get hot, they go cold. They get hot, they go cold. And he came in and created that from 2011, now extended it another 5 years and got you the biggest trophy that you can win in American soccer in the Champions League. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about Nico Ladero being a top five guy. Not that, oh, he jumped onto a Chicago Fire team that hadn't been in the playoffs in a billion years and took him to the playoffs once. There's levels to this, and that's what I needed to re-explain here. So thank you for letting me get on my soapbox. I hope people understand what I was trying to say.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go into my number three, so then I can also simultaneously respond back to your stuff on Nico here. My number three is Luciano Costa, and I think it is very unfair to give Nico the level of credit that you're giving for the turnaround and not give Luciano the credit for doing something that I think was significantly more difficult than what Nico did. I mean, not to say that Nico, I'm not trying to discredit the turnaround that Nico did. I completely agree, was a massive, massive part of turning around that particular season for Seattle. But as you said, that the viewers pointed out, and as I mentioned when we originally spoke about it, this was not a basement dwelling Seattle team in years prior. They were having a rough year, and he helped turn that around. But this was a very successful, solid team, and they continued to be with him on the team. Luciano came into the worst team that we have ever seen in Major League Soccer history. Like, just absolute record-breaking, like record-shattering levels of suckery. And granted, there's not gonna unless your name is Messi, you like that word? Unless your
That
name
might
is
be the greatest thing you've ever said ever. I'm like, if I had to put like another level up here, I would just put quotes from Connor, and that would be the first one. That's elite.
unless your name is Messi, you are not going to be able to turn around your team a team by yourself. So I'm not saying that Luciano is the sole reason that FCC was able to turn around. However, he was the main catalyst of turning this team from absolute basement dwellers into the FCC that we see right now. And that 3 year stretch from 2022 to 2024, and I will say this without having done any research on this, and this is completely just my own judgment on this. I think that was the best 3 year run from an attacking mid in Major League Soccer history. Like he was putting up insane numbers during that 3 year stretch, culminating in a supporter shield for a team that we never thought was going to be able to win one, and an MVP. He's out of everybody I had on my list, he's third in most goals out of all these attacking mids. He's number one in assists across these attacking mids, not per 90, just pure numbers. Like he has done so much. I mean, the only things that stopped him from being higher on this list for me is the fact that he hasn't made the playoffs much, so he hasn't had a ton of contributions into the playoffs. When he was with DC, outside of really like he had a monster 2018 season for them. I believe that was the Rooney season. Outside of that, he was like his numbers were kind of just okay. And DC was like, but DC made that. It looks like they made the playoffs a few times, but yeah, his playoff numbers could be a bit better, and his team awards kind of are in line with that. He's won one supporter shield and doesn't have anything else. So had he been if he has a bit more team success with Dallas, which I'm not really feeling like he's going to at the moment, he would be in the conversation for one or two for me.
You know what? That's fair. I think that's a really fair argument and something that I didn't levy up comparative to what Nico Ladero did because yes, he had such a big impact and I mean he was unplayable on his day. But his impact was greater on FCC's general path forward, but it didn't lead to success in the realm of what Seattle's success was. Do you know what I mean by that? Like
Well, I mean,
his
Seattle had a better team still, I would
no,
say.
and I'm just talking through my thought process, right? This is where I was going with this. I absolutely agree that what he did was more impressive than what Nico Ladero did on his, on that comparison. But it's to me like, and you know me, I'm a visual guy, so it's almost like taking two blocks, starting them here and here. Sorry, let me get on the screen. Here and here, FCC lower than Seattle, and moving them both up at the relatively the same amount, right? You went from Seattle, who was good in MLS, had themselves a trophy here or there, and moved them up to competitive on the international stage. Where then you took FCC, who was awful in MLS, and made them competitive in MLS. You know what I mean? So like that's where my brain was at. Now I can absolutely hear, take Luciano Acosta, put him 5, and drop Maxi to 4 or Maxi to 6. I'm okay with that. Like I would move him into the top 5 based off of this conversation, no doubt. But I don't know if I put him above Ladero for the same reason why I didn't put him in the top 5 earlier, where I don't know where this is going to go. So I can't step up here and be like, oh yeah, he's clear of Ladero, whose career is complete in MLS, and we can see what he's done. You know what I mean?
All right, two quick things, and then we can move on to your number three. Me personally, I think if you're talking about the levels of how much they raised it, I think Seattle's level was already pretty high, like up here, right? That
Mhm.
season they were down here, and Nico brought them back to this level. I think FCC was consistently down here at the bottom, and like lower than where Seattle was, right? Like Seattle was having a bad season, but they weren't a bad team. Like FCC, and I understand that it was still the case the first year Luciano was there. They were 27th supporter shield. However, FCC went from literally the lowest point you could possibly be to within 2 seasons being like the top supporter shield champions. I think that is a much higher jump up than a Seattle team that was consistently in the playoffs and was having a down half season so far.
Okay. And you know what? I don't disagree with you, right? I think you've got a good point there. I'm not going to change my list because I will never let you convince me to change anything. This is my show, damn it. But it's a good argument, right? And I can hear
Well,
it.
yeah. I was
But
gonna, the
what
one thing I will say to defend you, to
mhm,
possibly defend you, and I
good as you should, right? Know
I
where your
hate to
check
say
comes
this.
from, right? Don't bite the hand that feeds you. Good.
I feel like to kind of like talk about maybe a little bit of what you're talking about with like kind of seeing how he's going to do with Dallas.
Hmm.
I feel like if outside of the 2018 season, you could probably make the argument that he at the moment is looking a little bit like a one system kind of player where he just thrived in the FCC system. And then if you take him out of that, he's just not nearly hitting those levels. Like again, I don't want to just discredit his 2018 season because it was insanely good, but it was like 11 goal contributions, 9 goal contributions, 7 goal contributions in 3 other seasons with DC, all playing 2,000 minutes. And now he's like kind of back onto that pace again with Dallas. So it's like, kind of was he just benefiting from being in a good system in Cincinnati? I don't know. I mean, maybe you can make that argument to knock him down your list a little bit, but I personally still think that he should be top three.
Well, no, and you'll see it too, right? Like after the 2022 season for Nico Ladero, just to now back your point up, right? He goes from 14 goal contributions in 22 to 2023, 6 goal contributions, 2024, 8 goal contributions, and then he finished out half of 2025. He didn't play a ton, but you could make the argument, and maybe I'm talking myself out of this, that you could make the argument that Nico Ladero followed the same lower trajectory that Luciano Costa might. Now, if that's the case, the question then is what do you weight more, winning a tournament that no MLS team has won in 20 years, or getting a really bad team to be semi-average in MLS play for 3 years? And obviously that's a dig because they beat us in playoffs, whatever. But to get a really bad team to be really good in MLS, which with the parity that the league experiences is almost expected. I'm not sure I would. I think we were shocked at how quickly they went from low to high, but I don't think we were shocked that they eventually got there. Maybe some people were because, FCC, but I don't think that there was a shock that eventually they got there, right? So like when Chicago gets back up to the top of MLS eventually, that's not going to shock people. Now it's taken a lot longer than what FCC did, but to me, I rate that they were able to take Nico Ladero and not only win MLS Cup, make 3 straight MLS Cups, right, in a league of parity where you're supposed to have all this competition, and then go to an international tournament against a league that has unlimited spending against the top teams in the tournament, and go and beat them versus taking a really bad, wooden spoon team, letting them invest a couple $1 million into some actually good DPs, and then climbing the table and winning the Shield in 2 years. It's less, to me, it's less impressive. It's not impressive, if that makes sense. It's just less impressive than winning Champions League to me. Now, I'm happy to hear that argument. I'm happy to have that conversation. But to me, that's why I have Nico Ladero above Luciano Costa. Could Acosta be higher? Absolutely. But it would be a spot higher. It would be 6-5, not 6-2.
It's fair. I won't argue with you there. I mean, I
Good
didn't have
chat.
them top two.
Good chat.
I
I think
mean,
we
I think people should let us know in the comments. That's what I
I
think.
agree. I think that's really, really good podcasting of you.
All this, we
Number
still haven't even got to your number three yet.
but that's the conversation we've been missing. So I like it. This was a tough one, my number three, because off the bat, he felt like a real strong contender for number one. And I've got a really weird feeling that he is your number one, and I'm gonna have to fight you on it. He's
Surely
got
he
the
is.
third.
I feel
He's
like
got
I
the
know you're
third
about to
most
say.
goals per game. He's got the sixth best goal contributions per game in the playoffs. The third most total goal contributions in those games. It's Diego Valeri out of Portland. The dude was a baller, and I could see the smile on your face because he scored a ton of goals, and you love goals from attacking mid, even though
I
he was
love
playing as a
goals.
wide player. He was playing
All
as
I
a
want is
wide player
goals.
sometimes too. Don't worry, we know the data. What dropped him for me was that and again, it's something we've gone back to this whole time. The modern definition of a number 10 is around playmaking and creating, and he was 13th out of 23 players on my list for assists per game. Never once did he lead the league in assists for attacking midfielders. He
He
was a
did. I'm pretty
phenomenal.
sure he did.
No, I don't think he did. Not for.
I went through Wikipedia. I looked up every single year.
I went
I'll,
through.
you
Oh
keep
no,
talking. I will see if I can find them.
I went through Transfer Market, who didn't count the second assist, so that's probably why.
I wanted to include the second assist because I think that's how like Major League Soccer would
That's listen.
classify it if they gave out an award.
I don't care how you choose to do things. You can choose to do things as wrong as you want. I don't care.
Okay, okay, yeah,
Um,
go ahead, go ahead.
because here's the deal: if second assist really mattered, Sasha Question would have won MVP in 2018 or 2016, excuse me. Instead of
Here we
David
go.
Fraud
It
Villa.
all comes back to Red Bull.
Instead of David Fraud Villa, we would have seen Sasha Question holding the trophy he so rightly deserved. But we move. As a 10, he was a great attacking player. Don't get me wrong. He was so much fun to watch in his best days, but I do think there were some better players to go 2 and 1. So I've got him at 3. I think if you consider him in what he did for Portland and turning that around, I think he's a number 3 overall.
Okay, okay. I'm sure you could probably guess who my number two is. Honestly.
Honestly, we went so far down the rabbit hole, like I forgot who half of your players were.
Well, I mean, if you looked at your numbers, I think you would probably be able to pinpoint somebody who would be in this situation. But
Not
um,
really.
no, okay. Number two for me is Dwayne De Rosario.
Okay,
Um,
all right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
yeah. So again, I understand the way that we ranked it. It makes sense where we put him on our lists. He was not the playmaker that a lot of these other guys were, right? His game was goal scoring, and he was very good at it. He's the leading goal scorer in terms of just pure goals numbers by a lot over all of these guys. Granted, has a lot more minutes than a lot of these guys. Per
Mhm.
90s, very strong still, don't get me wrong, but there are guys that are slightly better than him. And assists were good, not great. He was like pretty much like right at the average for me. I have him at about zero point 0.2 assists per 90. Valderrama was the top. He was at zero point 0.4. So he's like really like right at the average point. So that ultimately knocked him down from being number one for me was the assists. Had he had more assists, he would have been probably number one on my list. But the guy is absolutely flooded with silverware. My goodness, the guy has so much. An MVP, six-time best 11, seven-time All-Star. He's got a Golden Boot, four MLS Cups, Supporter Shield, US Open Cup, two Canadian Championships. Not that those count, but
Damn.
he has
Canada,
done.
get him. Get him, Canada. Don't offer him any of your free services.
No, they
None.
counted back then. They only don't count for Ryan Gold. Um, but yeah, his silverware and his goal scoring bumped him up my list a ton. His playmaking, not that he was bad, but it for a number 10, it left a little bit more to be desired for him to kind of jump up my list a bit more. And had he been a little bit more of a playmaker, he would have been number one on my list.
Okay. So,
So one of these is Javi Mo and one of these is Marco Echeverria. That's all I know.
correct. And can you guess who's who?
I think Javi Mo is number two.
That would be correct. Javi Mo is number 2 for me. He was the guy that I first remember when it comes to thinking about like RSL, field players, of course. Right, creation and creativity in the central role was just so good to watch. I hated playing against him because he made it so difficult. But he's got the performance to back it. He's got the fifth most assists per game, the fourth most playoff goal contributions with 10 of them in 17 matches. RSL has won MLS Cup to the name, and it's because he exists. But it's also the reason they were as competitive for as long as they were because he led the league in assists 4 times. And what I'm looking here is every year he had a different striker leading hit the goals for RSL. So it was Urim Obsessian in 2008, 2009, the year they won, it was Robbie Finley. 2015, first off, he led the team in scoring, but all of the assists that he had as well went to Sebastian Jaime or João Plata. Again, players that you're not sitting there thinking, ooh, yeah, that's the guy I want leading my lead. By the way, and I should say leading assist, I mean the best attacking midfielder in terms of assist, not leading the league, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so it sounds like he got out assisted by strikers, which is not a great look for him.
Different time. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. And
I'm trying to get
then
you riled up again.
I, I've lost all my energy. Sorry. And then in 2014, it was João Plata again. Again, players not like huge DP name signings that are going to go out and you're going to be your huge goal scorers. Just players that have made, and I'm not saying they weren't designated players. I actually don't know their status, but like not the Zlatans or the David Villas of the world going out there and doing it with João Plata is different than doing it with those players. So his impact on a team that, oh, I don't want to be mean to RSL, his impact on a team that wasn't as good as maybe some of the other teams around him elevates him in this role. The problem that he couldn't be number one is because he didn't do enough to win as many individual awards, right? So he didn't win a ton of MVPs or things like that, and he didn't help RSL get to the, he got them to finals and things, but he couldn't get over the hump again because he was going up against super teams. So I think if you're thinking about a pure number 10, I have to pick a pure number 10 from this list. He's going to be one of the first names on my team sheet for sure.
Ah, I think you're letting your I forget what they call it.
Ball
Um,
knowledge get in the way of
no,
making really
no.
bad choices. Yeah, it's
I,
crazy
I
right
I feel
now.
like I feel like you're just kind of letting your like anecdotal view of him influence you here.
You're just mad because you don't have an anecdote to share. You've never seen a soccer game in 15 years.
Well, we're reliving the history. I've lived
Literally,
3 or
genuinely, this is
4.
like this is
I've
like
I've
arguing with
lived.
AI. Genuinely, I'm arguing with AI. He's like, look at the numbers. I'm like, watch a game.
I relived 4 seasons of him so far. I've gone through 4 years of Real Salt Lake so far in
You
MLS
watched
history.
every game of those 4 years, huh? Watched him play.
I think I at least watched. I mean, did I talk
I
about
watched one of
2009
them.
MLS Cup? I can't remember. One of us definitely talked about 2009 MLS Cup. So if
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
me, I probably watched it. I usually watch the cup games. Listen, I'm not saying that he's not on the list. I just like I'm sure he had a huge impact in terms of like just the entire play on the field. And I feel like you could almost make a similar conversation to like what we were talking about with Luciano in terms of him coming in and kind of turning Real Salt Lake into like, a good consistent team. The only thing I'd say in defense of Luciano over Javi Mo in this case is just the fact that Luciano had to do it with so many more teams in the league, and Javi Mo kind of had a smaller sample size to be able to lift them across. Listen, I mean, people will probably be able to come in and give the same like anecdotal kind of view of him that you have. And like, I was not watching the sport back then. I cannot tell you anything about watching him play. So I can only go based off of the numbers. And his numbers were very good in playmaking and okay-ish in goal scoring. So I had him much lower on my list. And like you said, like he really didn't win a lot of anything. Like he didn't really win personal awards, and he only got one MLS Cup. And I understand that that was in an era for a few years where he was going up against the LA Galaxy super team, but there was also a time where that super team wasn't really there anymore.
Yeah, they were replaced by other super teams that weren't RSL.
Well, why couldn't
Anyways,
RSL be a
please,
super team?
because go ask their owner, not me. I don't know. Go what? Please go wax poetic about Diego Valeri so we can just get this done with.
Yeah, I do have Diego Valeri at one. Um,
Oh wow, I'm shocked. I wonder why. Please.
yeah, so Diego Valeri for me is number one, and he feels so. Hadi Mukhtar feels like a regen of Diego Valeri. I feel like the way they play and the way they fill up the box score is so similar. Like those guys just have very similar play styles where they're not a playmaker like a Marco Echeverri or Valderrama where their game is like we're gonna look for the assist before we look for the goal. I think they look for the goal more than they do for the assist, but like he still put up really good assist numbers as well. I mean, in terms of goal scoring, he is one of the top goal scoring players I have on here. 85 goals, I think, is second in terms of totals. His per 90s were also very strong at 0.38. His assists were also strong at 0.3. That's not terribly far off of Valderrama being at the top with 0.4. He was pretty consistently in the playoffs with Portland and had good contributions with 6 goals, 7 assists. That gave him points as well. And The team awards was a little bit lacking. I think he has slightly more than what like Hani has. That kind of sets him apart from him. If you're saying that they have similar play styles, which is what I am saying. The individual awards were flooding. Like he had tons of them. MVP, MLS Newcomer of the Year, three-time MLS Best 11, four-time All-Star. He was a top assister in one season as well. Yeah, I mean, it was very close, but considering the way that I rated goals in this, he was number one for me.
We've yelled about this already. So, yeah, number one for me. Another one that I hate and hate to give credit to
You don't have
rivals,
to. You
but
could switch it.
no, because I have a brain. So, Marco Echeverri, an absolute baller, and another one that you just hate to see succeed, right? You prey on the downfall, and they get past it. When you talk about how a number 10 plays in the modern game, which we have been, some of us, he was before his time, second most assists per game, seventh most goal contributions in the playoffs. The dude got it done. He led the league in assists 3 times in 4 years and won nearly everything. 2 Supporters Shield, 3 MLS Cups, 1 U.S. Open Cup, an MVP. What he's missing is an MLS's back trophy, right? And that's why Diego Valeri is clear, obviously, because trophy cabinet, right? Um,
Only the best
he,
win that one.
Listen, he checks all the boxes for me. It's a shame I never got to actually see him play outside of just clips and stuff. To be born in 1990s. Not only will we be able to see some great MLS players,
You
but
were born in the 1990s.
no, 1990. Not only will we be able to get to see great MLS players play, but we also wouldn't be swimming in a mountain of debt.
Why
Oh well.
weren't you buying a house in 1997?
Yeah, I mean, criminal of me, I know. Anything else you wanna share below?
I wish I had something else to piss you off with, but I don't.
All right, well, here's what I'm doing. I'm putting it out right now. I'm putting out the poll for I'm going to put it out for 7 days on Twitter. Actually, no, I'll put it out for 4 days because this is going to come out on the 10th. Is that right? No, the 9th. So I'll put it out for 2 days and 12 hours. And we will see what the results say from our fans. Who's the best number 10 in MLS history? It's out. We'll see what they get. Um, Thanks so much for listening, everybody. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time on the next episode. Oh, wait, just kidding. I got to tell you where to follow us everywhere.
Oh, we also have
Go
to
on
run through
every.
our list again at the end.
Oh, that's right. We do have to run the list again. You're right. All right, Connor, why don't you go change your updated list?
Well, it's already updated. My list, honorable mentions, Ryan Gauld, Federico Higuain, and Sasha Kljestan. Number 10, Carlos Valderrama. Number 9, Javi Mo. Number 8, Mauricio Cienfuegos. Number 7, Christian Gomez. Number 6, Nico Lodero. Number 5, Hani Mukhtar. Number 4, Marco Echeverri. Number 3, Luciano Costa. Number 2, Dwayne De Rosario. And number 1, Diego Valeri.
Yep, for me, I've got honorable mentions Federico Higuain, Mauro Diaz, Mauricio Cienfuegos, Hani Mukhtar, and Sasha Kljestan. Number 10, I have Ryan Gauld. Number 9, I have Carlos Valderrama. Number 8, I've got Dwayne De Rosario. Number 7, I've got Carlos Gil. Number 6, I have Luciano Acosta. Number 5, I've got Maxi Morales. Number 4, I've got Nico Lodero. Number 3, I've got Diego Valeri. Number 2, I've got Javi Mo. And number 1, I have Marco Echeverri. Well, now that we're done, guys, go follow us everywhere you get your podcasts so you know when we next go live. Make sure you follow us on all social medias. You can interact on the polls that we have out here and have a good time with us. And yeah, I'm too tired to do anything more. So thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on the next episode of Designated Players and MLS Podcast. See ya.